Hey friends, how's it going? It's Julie here with Life Builders, bringing you simple tips for a strong and healthy life. I hope you guys are doing well. We're into another week. It's Monday. Welcome to Monday again. And I hope this week is going to be going strong for you. I hope your goals are going great. I was asking earlier what your goals are. I got some awesome answers. So Erica said she was going to have more people over to the house. Terry said they're taking a trip to Napa. Lauren said she was going to do like one healthy habit a month, which I thought was really fun. Heather Ann is going to work on lessons for the baby. And there's one more. And what was it? I'll have to go back to it. Hey, Jody, how are you? Good to see you. Do you have any goals for 2017? I'm excited to hear what you guys have done, have planned, and if you're still working on them. We're only, 9 days in, and guess what? A lot of people have already given up on their goals. Have you thought of making a goal even as simple as like making your bed every day? Is a great thing to do, but if you're still working on your goals, you're in the majority. I had to laugh because I saw somebody's Facebook post this morning. It said, okay, the New Year's resolution rush is over at the gym. You can come back and get whatever machine you want. And it just made me laugh so much because, you know, things change for a little bit and then they don't change. They go back to whatever was the same. And so anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are doing great. I just want to tell you real quick while I'm getting to this, doing a really cool series, a part of a series that Monique McLean is doing, and it's 21 Days of Prayer for Your Business, and it's been so cool. It's on day 2. You don't have to buy the book to join, but I've just been watching the videos, and it's really like a focused topics of prayer and even fasting over your business if you want for 21 days. If you want to join it, it's 50K, so 50K, 2, spell out the word 2, T-O, pray, 50K to pray. That's the Facebook group, and it's really cool. I want to encourage you that you might really like it. I think it's really neat, and it's really great. Hey, Livy, could you do me a favor? I forgot something. Could you go look on that table by the chair in there, by the lamp, and bring me that little box of cards? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So anyway, I hope you're doing great. I hope you're working on your New Year's resolutions. But, you know, by the time they say January 15th, yesterday I heard the end of February comes around, only 8% of people are still working on their resolutions. Thank you. Oh,
Hi.
Whoa.
Hi.
Surprise. And that's because sometimes they're not structured in a way that we actually can be successful at them. And that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. 4 ways that you can make your goals successful and 4 kind of parameters that you need. I kind of had created this little sheet here that it kind of breaks down where you would fill it out. So for instance, let's start with the first one, and I use the acronym of M.A.P.S, M.A.P.S to achieving goals. The first one is your goal has to be measurable. So if your goal is, I want to have more people over to my house, then you need to know how many people did I have over to my house last year, or how often did I have company. Some of the goals that I hear are very vague, so sometimes it might be, I want to be more positive. Okay, that's awesome. That is an awesome goal, but how are you going to measure being more positive? Is it like 3 months out of 6 months you feel happier if you rated yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? Or is it, you know, I made more positive impact by going to volunteer at this one? Also, you know, or if you're saying I want to lose weight, well, you can lose weight. Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. Tristan said she wanted to reach her fitness goals. That's the other one. So that, you know, lose weight is great, but you need to have a measurable goal. So you say, I need to lose 5 pounds. I need to lose 10 pounds. For me, one of my goals is I'm going to try to, I realize that I'm not very good at keeping base with like my family that's far away. So I'm going to try to call one family member a week besides my mom. So like 1 week I'm going to try to call Cindy, and then maybe the next week try to call Anna, and the next week maybe Josh, and then the next week my grandma. So that, I mean, hopefully I can do more than that, but to me I had to just set up something where I could have like a measurable, did I make the call this week or did I not make the call this week? Did I get the website done or did I not get the website done? So you need to have something that first is measurable. So think about your goal and think about how you can measure it. If you said, I want to listen to more podcasts, well, guess what? You need to have a way to measure that. So How many minutes of podcast do you want to listen to? How many times a week? So measurable. Number 2, you have to create, this is for A, you have to create an action plan. You can't just say, I want to be more positive and then not change anything, because you're not going to change without an action plan. You need an action plan. For instance, if you say, I want to listen to more podcasts this year. That was one of my goals last year. I said to myself, I'm turning 42. I want to listen to 4,200 minutes of podcasts in the entire year of 2016. So that was my measure. And then I said, how am I going to keep track of this? I don't even know. So in my journal, I actually made 1 page per month. And every time I would finish listening to a podcast, 30 or 60 or 7 minutes, however long it was, I would write it down. And at the end of the month, I would add it all up. So that was my action plan for being listening to more podcasts. If you have an action plan of being more positive, here's something you could do. My friend Christy got these for me, and they're so beautiful. Power Thought Cards by Lewis Hay. It's an H. And then what it has is these little beautiful cards on it. So this one says, I am willing to change. And the back has a little thing. It says, I'm willing to release old negative beliefs. They are only thoughts that stand in my way. My new thoughts are positive and fulfilling. So if you wanted to be more positive, maybe an action plan for being more positive would be to buy this deck of 60 cards, there's 64, and focus on one thought per day, one positive thought per day. Or, hey, I'm going to share a positive thought each day. Hey, Sue, how are you? If your plan was to spend more time doing your devotional, you need to have an action plan for that. I'm going to get up 30 minutes earlier 3 times a week, or whatever it is, to go into your prayer closet and do your devotional. So having an action plan is going to really help you be able to stay on that goal, because we can't just be like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then not have a plan for changing it. So that's the second thing. So you want to be measurable, you want to have an action plan, and then the third thing is you have to have parameters. So you have to set a time frame for yourself. So if you say, I'm going to do this by the end of the year, or I'm going to do this by the end of the quarter, or I'm going to do this once a week, or whatever it is, you really need to just keep yourself to a time frame so that you have that accountability. I mentioned the podcast. When I came down to December 31st of 2017, I had exactly 111 minutes left of listening to podcasts to reach my goal of 4,200 minutes. And I was like, gosh, dang it, I ain't going to do that. So I got up early and went and listened to 111 minutes, took my notes and stuff. But, we had to have a timeline, because otherwise it'll just stretch on infinitely. So if your goal is to start a small group, then you need to say to yourself, I'm going to start a small group by the end of this first quarter. So having that time frame and that parameter is really going to help you narrow down the specifics of this goal and keep you moving forward. So it needs to be measurable, you need to have an action plan, and then you need to have parameters. So that's my M.A.P.S. So we're almost to the S. Measurable, action plan, parameters. And then for the S is you need to just write down the first step. What is the first step to start what you're doing? So if your goal is to have more people over, maybe your first step is to decide, who do I want to have over? Hey, Christy, how are you? I'm so glad to see you guys. And Sue, it's nice to see you. So you need to just go with the first step. I was relating this story the other day of how Richard Branson, he only owned the magazine and the music company, and he thought, maybe I want to start an airline. So what was the first step that he did? He went to a plane company and said, can I charter this plane? And that was the very beginning. That was the very first step. And sometimes our goal is so big that we don't even know how to narrow it down. So just start with the first step. So for instance, I need a website. That's one of my goals this year, is to get a website by the end of the first quarter. Oh my gosh. But Damien's like, go look at the websites you like and find out who did them. So I need to research. That's my very first step for getting a website. If you guys know of any great website creators or places where you can make your website, let me know. So you need to have it has to be measurable, have an action plan, have your time parameters, and then also just your starting step, and just start. That's the hardest part. And also, lastly, you need to write your goals down. Listen to this study. Only 3% of people actually write their goals down, but the people who do are 50% more likely to accomplish them. Check out this study. Harvard graduate students were asked if they had set clear written goals for their futures, as well as if they had made specific plans to transform their fantasies into realities. The result of this study was only 3% of the students had written goals, so we know that's average. 13% had goals in their minds, but they hadn't written them anywhere, and 84% had no goals at all. So after 10 years, the same group of students were interviewed again, and the conclusion of the study was totally astonishing. The 13% of the class who had who had goals, but did not write them down, were earning twice the amount of the 84% who had no goals. And the 3%, listen to this, the 3% who had written goals were earning on average 10 times as much as the other 97% of the class combined. So these 3% were going like crazy because they had written their goals. And a lot of successful people post their goals up and they review them every day, every morning and every night. My goal is to do this. My goal is to this. My goal is to love more. My goal is to, get in shape or lose 5 pounds or whatever. Because what happens is you've got that goal in your head and in your mind, and you're going to notice the opportunities that are coming your way because you're going to be conditioned. It's right there with you. You're thinking about it. Or Christy, she does RNF. It's like if your goal is to sell $5,000 a month, you may already sell more than that, but if your goal is to sell $5,000 a month and you state that every morning and every night, you're going to be looking out and you're going to see opportunities and you're going to be like thinking, I want to do this, and it will be in your head if you write it down. And Christy said, I'm going to make a vision board. I love vision boards. Tell me what's going to be on your vision board because I want to see it. And if you do it, will you post a picture and show me because I want to see what's on your vision board. Andrea's there. So good to see you, Andrea. So that's it. So for your goals, measurable, action plan, parameters of time, and also your starting step. And then lastly, write them down. And I also said I would tell you what I learned from failing miserably at 3 goals last year. Yeah, I had a lot of goals. So I kind of arranged my goals by input and output last year. So it was something new for me. I'm just experimenting. And so for input, I said, I wanted to do this many minutes of podcast. I wanted to read this many books. I wanted to go to 2 conferences last year, a Propel conference and a Catalyst conference, and those all happened. But for my input, one of the goals I said was I want to have 2 times a week, 30 minutes of just thinking time, just blank time. Hey, oh good, Jody, that's awesome. You're working on your goals today. Just 30 minutes of thinking time, because guess what, guys? We are not going to be able to get ahead, to have vision, to envision the future if we're always trying to catch up on where we are today. And we're just, doggy paddling all the way. You won't have the time to think about what you want to do, how to accomplish that, to pray about what you're going to do. You need time to be doing that. Ooh, Andrea said she made a vision board. Ooh, I'd love to see it too. It works. So one of my goals last year was to sit down for 30 minutes 2 times a week with a blank sheet of paper and just spend time doing nothing and thinking. And I did it twice last year in the whole year. So I did not do it at all. But the great thing is we get a new start this year. We could start anytime. But for me, that's one of my goals this year again, to try to make it again. Let's see if I can do this. It was something I really wanted to spend time doing, but I didn't make it happen, and the reason I didn't make it happen is because I wasn't willing to make the sacrifice to get up earlier, to get what I needed to be done, to have enough discipline, to do all the stuff that I needed to do to make that space. That's what I didn't do. And so I'm working on that this year. I'm working on my discipline more and just being disciplined so that I have more freedom in that. My second goal that I failed miserably at was an output. 2 outputs, and one of them was, giving is such a good part of growing your business. Giving is really important, and it's really important to Damien and I, and we give a tithe, which is like a 10%, but giving more than that is really something that's on our heart, and so we really try to push ourselves to give more than we think we can give. And so I made this audacious goal. I don't know if you've heard of them, BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. Hey, Melissa. And we should have them. We should have crazy goals. But the goal that I set last year, and I worked out all the math, and I totally thought we could do it, but it was really much bigger than we did before. And I was disappointed. I only got about 60% to our goal. But when I started looking at it, I realized our giving goal for this year was 150% of what we gave last year. So I basically took it and multiplied it and divided it in half. So when I realized that I made the goal too big, it was too far out of, I mean, our income didn't multiply by 150%. I don't even know if our income grew yet. We haven't got our taxes yet. But anyway, I gave this big, hairy, audacious goal of giving 150% more than we had given last year. And the total we'd given last year was the most we've ever given. And so I made it too big. And we weren't able to do it. And I had to just be okay with that, you know, because it's okay. I mean, we gave as much as we could give, and it was fantastic. But I just had to let that go because my expectation was different than what actually happened. And so, you know, I was down on myself like, oh, man, you didn't do that. You know, you wanted to do this, and you really didn't meet that goal. We didn't meet it. We only gave it like 60%. But it's okay. So this year I realized like I need to dial it down a little bit, dial it back a little bit so that it's actually like reachable. I made it unreachable, and that was the mistake that I made. And then the third goal I really failed at was I had a goal to run a half marathon last year, and I put it on my goals list because it would have been the 4th year in a row I've run this specific half marathon. So I was like, oh, I gotta go. I have to do this lucky run, and you know, so for the 4th year in a row. And you know, to be honest with you, when I got there, I just realized, when I started the training, I was just like, my heart wasn't in it. I just was like burnt out on running from the last few years. So I just took a break. And I decided, you know what, this isn't a goal for me right now. And I'm only doing it because I thought I should, not really because like my heart's in it. And so I took a break from running until I could find the joy of running again. And it was a good opportunity to develop that. And so I just said, I'm not going to run again until I feel like running. And then I ended up, in November, I kind of challenged myself to run at least 1 mile a day. And, you know, ended up running more than that, of course. But it was great because I took that break and I got the joy of running back. And I was like, I really like this. I remember how much I like it now. So that's the failures that I had last year was not being disciplined enough to hit my goal, making my goal too big, and just realizing that it wasn't in my heart. I was just doing it out of obligation or what I thought I should do. So anyway, that's my experience with goals. So I'd love to hear your experience and what you learned from your successes and your failures last year. So that's it for goals. And if you missed the 4 steps to making your goal achievable, then go back to the beginning because it's really good. Measurable, action, parameters, and starting. So anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome day. I love you. I will see you on Wednesday, hopefully at 10 o'clock again. And have a great day, everybody. May your minds be fierce and your spirit strong and your, wait, what did I say?
Brave. Your spirit's be brave.
Your spirit's brave. No, your heart brave and your spirit what?
Strong.
Your spirit, no, I think I say kind.
What?
Anyway,
Okay,
what do I say, you guys? What do I say? I don't know.
Bye.
All right, love you. Bye.